of Technology, Karnataka, Suratkal. He started working as assistant professor NIT Karnataka from December 2012 onwards. Dr. Hemant Kumar received his PhD degree from IIT Madras 2009, MTech degree from VTU Belgaum 2003, and a BE from University of Mysore during the year 2000. Before joining NIT Karnataka Suratkal, he served as assistant professor at BITS Pilani KK Birla Goa campus from July 2010 to December 2010. And he served as a senior engineer at John Deere Technology Center, India Limited, Pune, from April 2009 to July 2010. And also he served as a CAE software engineer, GJ Core Soft Limited, Pune, from July 2008 to March 2009. His current research interests are mission dynamics and vibration, vehicle dynamics, machinery condition monitoring, product design, and tribology. Presently, he has involved with 6 ongoing sponsored research projects as a principal investigator of Imprint project to be 355 lakhs. Principal investigator of Fast Track Young Scientist project to be 20.8 lakhs, and co-principal investigator in DST SERB Earlier Career Research Project to be 59 lakhs. Co-principal investigator in MHRD sponsored SPARK project 60.35 lakhs. And the Computer One DST SERB project extramural research project as co-principal investigator rupees 35.5 lakhs. Also, he was involved with 3 ongoing completed consultancy projects undertaken from IFB Goa with an amount of 7 lakhs. NMPT Mangalore. 6 PhD scholars have completed their degree under his guidance. He has guided around 15 MTech projects. He published 62 papers in international journals and 54 articles in international conferences. He has conducted a number of short-term courses in the area of vibrations and dynamics. He was instrumental in setting up a laboratory for vibration and condition monitoring lab and also vehicle dynamics lab at NIT Karnataka, Suratkal. Sir, I welcome you, sir, for this faculty development program.
Thank you, sir.
Now I hand out the session to you, sir. Over to Hemant, sir.
Good morning, all. I will share my presentation. Just 1 second. I hope you could able to see my slides. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Hariharan, for introducing me to the panel, to the audience.
Thank you, sir.
Today's my topic is about an overview, fault diagnosis of mechanical system. I normally work in vehicle dynamics and condition monitoring. Today I am delivering a talk based on fault diagnosis of mechanical system. Okay, today's talk is broadly about an overview about I will start from condition monitoring, fault diagnosis, some of the fundamentals aspects of signal processing, how we can analyze the signal in time domain, spectrum analysis, short time Fourier transform, wavelet transform, substrum analysis. Okay, and also we will also see overview about fault diagnosis system using machine learning approach. And finally, we'll see a glimpse about IoT based system. Okay, I know that this is the last day of the workshop, and many of the topics has been covered by fellow speakers, maybe Dr. Sukumaran, Dr. Amarnath. They may have covered, but still I will also talk about all these things. Okay, let us see now. Okay. So the condition monitoring program, it will start in the principle of maintenance. See, principle of maintenance from our traditional methods like breakdown maintenance, predicate maintenance, condition based maintenance. So what is this breakdown? When any machinery will going to fail, okay, then only maintenance wing will attend and get it repaired back to working condition. So what happen? The main disadvantage is the bottleneck. That means halt in the production process. It will create a bottleneck in the production. So next is periodic motion maintenance, maybe bi-monthly maintenance program or monthly maintenance program or weekly maintenance program. Each machines will be attended, and and there will be overhauling of the system, and they will check each component of the system, etc., to upkeep the machines in a proper manner. But what happens here, even though if the machines are under periodic maintenance program, there may be some failure may happen. Some of the machines are very critical in nature, which are very key to production. So we want to observe those machines which are critical machines under condition based maintenance. How to get these critical machines, how to identify, there is separate topic that we have to see, like FMEA, like failure modes, effect analysis, all those things, to identify those are critical component or critical machines, etc. So for those machines only, we are undergoing, we will take up condition based maintenance program. So those machines which are identified will be rigged up with instrumentation and all. So some of the variables or process variables will be observed continuously. So with the help of sensors, suitable sensors, and data acquisition system. Okay. So broadly, we can we can define condition monitoring. Okay, it is a bookish definition like continuous or periodic measurement and interpretation of data to indicate the condition of an item to determine the need of maintenance. So it is as good as how we are checking health of a human being based on parameters such as body temperature, blood pressure, or maybe based on the blood sample. Okay, pathological tests, they will identify the person is sick or healthy. Similarly, we can also identify the machine, which is a machine or subsystem, anything, by some of the variables. When it is in operation, it will emit certain variables like sense signals, which we'll call some information given from the system. Okay, those signals will be processed, and we will also identify from the signals whether it can be some defects in the machines, or it is running normal or operating in a healthy way. So this is about condition monitoring, and you can see their broad method. That means it is like based on visual also, you can see based on color, shape, texture, we can see this is having some problem or it is working fine, etc. Okay, you may observe in day to day life so many components. Okay, then performance monitoring, suppose you have purchased some engine. Okay, it will be giving some 2 HP or 3 HP, etc. motor, right? If there is any fluctuation in the output, brake power, etc., you can you can say that there is some problem inside the motor or engine, right? So based on brake horsepower or whatever the measuring criteria, so you should see that what is the rate of output. That depends on maybe some of the factors, maybe rate of uniformity of rate of output, quality, etc. So one of the key aspect is about vibration monitoring. Because why we are saying vibration monitoring, in the industry we are using around 70% of the data, sorry, of the condition monitoring system is based on vibration monitoring. Maybe we will observe how is the signal frequency, amplitude of the signal, etc. Then wear debris analysis. That means it is quite useful in case of engine. Suppose the lubricating oil inside the gearbox will give us indication about the faultiness in the component. Suppose if the gear is having some failure, what will happen? The debris that will chipped out of these gears will be accumulated in this oil. So the percentage of this wear debris will give us idea about the component in the gearbox failure or healthy conditions. Okay, and also we can also see what are the chemical composition, like we will say sulfates, oxides, and these things we can measure in case of lubricating oil. How we can see that how this oil you is degrading with the time. Maybe from the start of the oil to the life, that means to the end, we may say 3 months we are changing this oil. You can notice it may happen so that because of the component failure or machine members failure, it will be, this oil degradation may takes place even with much lesser time. So that are all some of the parameters you can measure. Okay, few aspects like in the condition monitoring, we may measure pressure as one of the variable, signal, vibration as a signal as already told, and thermography, performance monitoring, oil analysis, motor current signature analysis. All these are all some of the signals that we can use for condition. So again, I am given some techniques available: vibration analysis, acoustic emission monitoring, and sound monitoring. There is a difference between sound and acoustic emission. Motor current signature analysis, current force signal, cutting force signal, particle or wear debris analysis, radiography, performance monitoring, oil analysis, ultrasonic monitoring, thermography. So around 70% of the system, which is a condition monitoring system based on vibration analysis, rest around 30% occupies all other techniques. So let us move on, because this is all coming under different topics like NDT techniques are also used, like radiography, ultrasonic, etc. We'll not talk, and because that is not the scope of today's lecture. So fault diagnosis broadly we can define as detecting, isolating, and identifying an impending or incipient failure condition of the affected component or subsystem in the system. Suppose you just take an example of a fan. Okay, there may be some noise, it may be coming out of fan. Okay, that what is that? You observed a noise that is coming out of fan. So that is nothing but fault detection. What you notice, you may perceive it as some problem is there in the fan. That is nothing but fault detection. An abnormal operating condition is detected and reported. Now you start digging why this noise is coming. Okay, it may be because of inside the fan there may be motor, bearings, etc. There may be, just take an example, bearing may have worn out, or some component inside the bearing may be failed. That is nothing but we isolate. That is fault isolation. That is determining which component or subsystem or system is failing or has failed. Then afterwards we identified the bearing is the one which is under failing or not working in proper way. So you will disassemble the fan, motor, bearing, etc., and you find out how long it may run, or how much failure happened. That is nothing but fault identification, estimating the nature and extent of fault. Okay, now next is the prognosis. Prognosis is the ability to predict accurately and precisely the remaining useful life. That is RUL. Suppose just we know that the kind of application, we know how to measure life of the bearing, or how to estimate the life of the bearing in terms of number of revolutions. Okay, for our application. So from the condition that we have assessed, we can able to say these many hours or these many revolutions it may run without any problem. That is nothing but a residual life, right? Remaining useful life, right? That is nothing but prognosis. Okay. So so fault diagnosis is applied to some of the mechanical systems like bearings, gears, belts, shines, all these members, machine tools, machines, automotive, robotics, machine vision, all these cases we can apply the thought of fault diagnosis. Okay. Literature you can find in this fault diagnosis or condition monitoring domain. Okay, I have just made into this wide classification But it is not limited to this. Okay, there are many more techniques in signal processing or machine learning. Just for this lecture, I have made this kind of diagram. And in fault diagnosis, there are two broad classification. One is model-based methods. Another one is signal-based method or data-driven method. Okay, majority of the fault diagnosis system is based on signal-based method. Why? Because it is very difficult for us to model a mathematical model or any virtual model for a complicated system. Okay, in a reality, when we are going for applying condition monitoring program, the machine member may be having so many subsystems, intricate parts, etc. It may be difficult for us to represent as a computer model or any mathematical model. So model-based methods are somewhat limited in application. Majority are signal-based methods. Maybe model-based methods is used for like mathematical model, or you may find finite element model or multi-body dynamic model. There are only few cases you can see in multi-body dynamic model, which is there published in the literature. Finite element for beams plate, there are few literature you can observe, right? And model based fault identification technique also few literature, right? Majority is signal processing technique in conjunction with machine learning technique or alone signal processing technique. Okay, the main signal processing, it will start from time domain analysis and then frequency domain that we call as spectrum. Then substrum analysis, short time Fourier transform, wavelets, which may be continuous wavelet or discrete wavelet. Then EMD, that is empirical mode decomposition method. This is one method which we can, if given a signal, we can decompose the signal into number of IMF, intrinsic mode functions. Okay, that is about signal processing. There are so many other signal processing techniques which is available and people are using. Okay. Then in machine learning technique, it is nothing but how to build a automated system or artificial intelligence, how we can apply for fault diagnosis. Is nothing but how we can use artificial neural network. That means so many classifiers are available. Maybe ANN is one. Support vector machine, SVM. You can apply thoughts about Navies Bayes, K-star, etc. Okay, this is for one set, and based on this you can develop a hardware, and you can for a standalone machine you can develop a automated system by using this machine learning approach. And today's trend is how to bring IoT based, Internet of Things based fault diagnosis. Suppose you just think there are multiple machines in the shop floor you want to monitor, right? Multiple machines, or machines may be in different locations. Okay, all the data that we acquire will be shared or kept shared in a common cloud, put in a common cloud, and the data is shared among all the machines, etc. And any action or a report will be generated and action will be taken based on the machine learning. All the techniques will be executed in the cloud. That is about this. Okay, associated signal. Signal means any information provided by the system is signal. Okay, like in a real life, we can say traffic signal. Okay, it is the information given to the public, right? Or you can say railway signal, all this. So similarly, machines will also give signal. Like how we are saying temperature is one of the signal for a human body to assess the health. Similarly, machines will radiate vibration signals when it is in operation. There is acoustic emission signal. Whenever any material will be deformed, okay, it will emit certain energy in the form of acoustic waves. That is we call as acoustic emission signal. Then sound signal. Sound is the one, as I was giving an example of a fan. If you can acquire the sound signal with a suitable microphone and other data acquisition system. Okay, and you can analyze the sound signal for the faults or healthiness. Then image will also serve as a signal, right? Then motor current signal. Suppose any system which is operated by a motor. Suppose just take an example of this fan itself. If it is in a new fan, brand new fan, okay, how much the power or current it will draw, it will be perfectly normal. But once the bearing is failed or winding is having problem, you can measure the current, it will definitely draw more current. Based on this current signal also, you can analyze the faults, etc. Then cutting force signals, it's used in machining. If you have a dynamometer, you can acquire cutting force while machining in case of lathe or milling machine or drilling machine. Okay, that you can use as a signal. Okay, any suppose you are mounting a sensors or any physical system that you wanted to monitor, okay, and acquire the signal. Suitable signal processing or signal conditioning will be used, and you will store the data in the computer, right? And whenever you can retrieve these signals, okay, which are while storing we need digitized data, so you use ADC, analog to digital converter. And when for any analysis, you can retrieve this data and you can analyze, or even in online also you can analyze. So this is a typical time domain response that is given, right? Okay, this is about representation only. In suppose you have three harmonic waves, three sinusoidal waves. If you are looking from front, how you observe this? Like say, like three harmonic waves superimposed, it will look like this, right? When you are just, it's not the correct way to see. It's a like side view, but think as a mechanical engineer, we can see like there are. If you are observing in this front, you can see there are three frequency components, right? So how we can convert time domain to frequency domain, all may have been knowing, but still we can use what is known as Fourier transform. So acquired data in time domain we can use to get the spectrum, that is nothing but frequency domain. This is for continuous signal, and this is for discrete signal. And if you know the information of the signal in spectrum, you can get the signal in time domain by using this formula. This is for continuous signal. We call this as a inverse Fourier transform. Okay, this is for discrete Fourier transform, right? Okay, if you are using MATLAB, you are using, you may be having functions FFT. FFT is one of the algorithm which gives us a frequency domain from time domain. Fast Fourier transform will work based on Fourier transform. Okay, we can use this FFT command to convert time domain signal to spectrum, right? What this spectrum, all these things gives, let us see. Okay, let us take an example of a bearing. Okay, any ball bearing you may get from any stores. Okay, all these what is the diameter of this rolling element, outer diameter, inner race diameter, all will be known from the maker. Okay, with the help of ball diameter, outside diameter, all these things, you can able to estimate what is this this FTF means strain frequency, BPFO means ball pass frequency outer race, BPFI means ball pass frequency inner race, BSF means ball spin frequency. So you can predict, how you can calculate what are these characteristic frequency. These are all widely available in literature. I have taken from literature. So based on what is the RPM that you will run, you will operate, you will going to get what is the characteristic frequencies. So take an example of any motor. We have used here motor and an accelerometer and a two-channel FFT analyzer to acquire the data. Okay, you've given a condition, that means for this we have used three cases. One is healthy bearing, another two, three cases of simulated fault bearings. Whether one is inner race fault, another is outer race fault, just to acquire the data like this. Okay, if you are given this, it is very difficult from the time domain levels to identify which this time domain signal corresponding to what. Like it is very difficult for us to identify from this which is corresponding to healthy or inner edge fault or outer edge fault. Okay, since we have simulated and acquired, we know that. Otherwise, with the signal itself, it is very difficult to say. Okay, now this first one is corresponding to good, second one inner edge, third one is outer edge fault. Okay, and let us see now. So this is from the data, you can get it from maker brochures. Okay, and, suppose if you are converting that, you are going to get this kind of spectrums where you can observe driving frequency, spin frequency, or its harmonics. 1x, 2x, 3x are all its harmonics. And in case of this is for healthy bearing, and this is for in bearing with inner wrist fault, you can observe along with the what is this driving frequency, spring frequency, and its harmonic. You can also observe peaks, some other peaks corresponding to ball pass frequency, inner race fault, and its harmonics. Similarly, for outer race defect, and if the bearing is with different all the types of component failure, can get these kind of spectrums. So spectrum also we can use for identifying the fault. Then what is the limitation of this kind of spectrum? Okay, let us take an example here. If suppose there are three sinusoidal signal, harmonic signals, one is 50 hertz, 150 hertz, another third one is about 300 hertz. If you are performing FFT, obviously we are getting peaks corresponding to 50, 150 and 300 hertz. Okay, let us see now when we are superimposing all these three signals. Okay, we know that this signal from the time instant 0 to 400 time step, it is composing of all three components, harmonic component, 50 hertz, 150 hertz and 300 hertz. Okay, and we are transforming, that means we are using FFT to get frequency domain. We are getting three peaks corresponding to 50, 150 and 300 hertz. What is the problem is, it is in FFT. If you observe first time domain plot, there is no frequency information. Since we have simulated, we know these harmonic components are there. But otherwise, given any random signal, it is very difficult for us to say frequency component. In case of spectrum, we know that 50, 150, 300 hertz is there, but very difficult for us to say there is at what time it occurred. Second disadvantage is it is not suitable for non-stationary signal. Let us take one simple non-stationary signal. Let us take 0 to 300 time step. It is 50 hertz signal, that is sinusoidal. 300 to 700 is about 150 hertz signal. 700 to 1000 is about 300 hertz signal. Okay, now we know we have introduced some variation here at 300 step, 700 step. We are now getting spectrum using FFT. We are getting three peaks corresponding to 50, 150 and 300 hertz. But what is the problem? Here also we don't know when this occurred, when these signals, when these frequency components occurred. It is not possible for us to predict. So not useful for analyzing time variant or non-stationary signals. These are the second two main disadvantages of FFT or spectrum analysis. Now, in order to get both the time and frequency, one more technique which is quite useful is about a short time Fourier transform. It is nothing but, suppose given a signal like this, we are using one window, and we will perform the whichever their signal which is there inside the window will perform FFT and get the information about frequency information, and then translate this window to the next segment, and again will perform FFT, or will see the frequency information. Similarly, up to will transform or will translate up to last time step and perform FFT. And approximately we'll see whenever there is any change in the frequency component, we'll come to know there is some change in frequency information. So windowed for this is short time Fourier transform, the explanation. Okay, this running. So like this. Now with this, what we're going to get? We're going to get this the information, that signal in the time domain. We're going to get in a 2D, like both time and frequency. Approximately, we're going to get the information. So the equation is given here. You can see it's a normal frequency transform equation. There is 1 by 2 pi, that is a normalization constant. We can ignore that. You can see there is one windowing function that is used along with the signal that in time domain. Okay. So now there is two things. When we are saying a short time Fourier transform, there is a big challenge is to see what is the type of window, whether we are using a narrow window or wider window, or whether we are using rectangular window or parabolic window or elliptical window, etc. Sorry, Gaussian window. And then what is the kind of shape? Okay, now let us see for a narrow window. So in this narrow window, what we'll observe, we can get a better time resolution or better time. Suppose this is the with approximately we can able to say when this frequency change happened. Okay, approximately. But in case of wider window, if you are using, we're going to get a better frequency resolution, but poor time resolution. That is the disadvantage. So there should be a compromise in choosing window size. All these things are explained here, like what is the type of the window, size of the window. Wide window analysis provides poor time resolution and good frequency resolution. Narrow window analysis provides good time resolution but poor frequency resolution. We may use rectangular window, Hanning window, or elliptic window, or Gauss window. Okay, the steps involved I explained is choosing a window function of finite length, and then place the window on top of the signal at the start of the time step, right? Then truncate the signal using this window. Then compute the Fourier transform of the truncated signal. Incrementally slide the window to the right, until we complete. We're going to see this. Okay. Now, if you are using STFT for this signal, like which was earlier described, like 150 hertz up to 300, and up to 300 to 700, it is 150 hertz, and 700 to 1000, it's 300 hertz. Now, performing STFT, we're going to see this kind of plot for narrow window. We call, because we're going to get frequency versus time. This is called spectrogram. Spectrogram is the word that we are using for frequency time plot. Okay, so with the narrow window, you can see very close or very good time approximation or time estimation, but poor frequency resolution. In case of 2D and 3D, you can see this kind of plot. In case of a wide window, if you are using a wide window, what will happen? You can see here an overlap very difficult for us to say what is this time instant. There is a change in frequency. Okay, this overlap will give us what is the but we can also advantage is we're going to see a good frequency resolution. Okay, so what does that I have chosen that is given here. Okay, any speech signal, we have taken one speech signal, okay, and performed STFT. If you, this STFT plot look like this with a narrow window. Okay, basically you can say there is a fundamental and harmonic of this component, which is used in many sound analyzers like people who music and that means they will record music and all, they will use this kind of plots. Okay, this is with a wide band spectrum. Okay, now one Heisenberg principle of uncertainty. There are so many certainty principles like Einstein or all they are coming under certainty principle. That means they have developed some mathematical model. That means you can able to predict at any time the kind of response. In case of uncertainty principle, what is that? That is nothing but it is very difficult for us to get both time frequency. This is case of in signal processing. Uncertainty principle came. This now name came in quantum mechanics or in case of physics. It is also applicable here because both time and frequency will not get at the same time instant. Okay. So one cannot know the exact time frequency representation of the signal. We cannot precisely know at what time instance a frequency component is located. We can roughly estimate. Okay. So wavelet transform. So this wavelet transform, you know, as you know, what is wave? You know, wavelet means a short wave we call as wavelet. Okay. It is just why we have seen STFT. You will understand now. We have seen what is this translation, right? Now, and in STFT, we have seen with a narrow window, we'll get a better time resolution. With a wide window, we're going to get a better frequency resolution. Whether it is possible to get both good time resolution and both and frequency resolution in same plot. Yes, we can do with the help of wavelet. Still, Heisenberg principle holds good, right? Now, there is in mathematics we have functional analysis where we can see this kind of similarity functions. What is this? If suppose f1 is one function, f2 is one more function. If you are comparing point to point f1 to f2 and check the similarity. If both functions are similar, then what is that? The value of similarity is 1. If both functions are dissimilar, the value is 0. If anywhere in between, you're going to get between 0 to 1. Let us take this way. You may be having sibling, your brother, or you may compare with your father, no problem. Okay, now, if you are comparing your brother with yourself, there may be certain characteristics which may be physical, right? You may carry similar nose as of your brother, okay? And you can identify what is the what is the amount of similarity. I am almost 60% similar to my brother. Then we can write the similarity index as 0.6. If both are different, then similarity index is 0. If it is exactly matching, it is 1. Okay. So this is about if the functions, it's also applicable to functions. If you are comparing one function, f1 to another function and writing out similarity, right? this integral sign is for because we are comparing point to point both functions and adding all the similarity indexes. Okay, these two things you should know when it comes about when we are talking about wavelet transform. We know that translation is means what that we have studied now just now in case of short time Fourier transform, right? In case of scaling, that means we want to get all the frequency information. How it is possible? By stretching the window. Whether it is possible to get by stretching this window. Window is nothing but a wavelet. Stretching the wavelet, we're going to get what? Better frequency resolution. Or by squeezing the wavelet, what we're going to get? Better time resolution. Right. So this is called translation and scaling. Now you can observe in wavelet toolbox, so many wavelets has been developed and it is available in wavelet library. Right. In case of MATLAB uh, wavelet toolbox, that is wave menu. If you put it, you will going to see a wavelet toolbox. It will open and you can observe so many wavelets. Right. Okay, one equation is you can see in almost all the papers in the literature is this equation, that is uh, tau is a translational parameter, s is scaling parameter, and this equation talks about like functions we have seen integral f1 f2 is equal to 1 in case of what if it is a similar functions, if it is a dissimilar it is 0. Similarly you can see here x of t is the signal that we have acquired and psi star this is a function of t and tau and s, right? This is a wavelet function. We are comparing the time domain signal with a short wavelet, right? Or short wave or wavelet. Okay, and writing down the similarity. On by this is a normalization function, right? And we by stretching or by translating, we are going to get many wavelets, or we call as child wavelet. First one is mother wavelet. All right. Now let us take this is a signal, and you kept wavelet, and you are noting what is the similarity of comparison or similarity that you can note it as some value, right? And it should be started from the beginning, and with the translation, it should be covered up to the last time step. And you noted with all the translation what is the value of similarity, right? And you stretch the wavelength and repeat the same process like translating from left to right. Again, you will going to get a series of similarity values. Again, further you stretch, you will going to see one more row of values of similarity, right? So you're going to see if you are plotting scale versus time, you're going to see lot of values. It is very difficult for us to represent it on paper. So many similarity values. We use colors or colorogram for representing similarities. This is a frequency and time. And with the suitable, you can identify where is the frequency and what time this frequency component is coming. Both time and frequency you can get. Both time and frequency information you can get from this wavelet. Okay, this if you are we have used in case of a single point cutting tool, right? One of the defect we have created with a one tool flank. We have simulated the fault. That means we created the fault and took the or acquired the time domain signal, vibration signal, and used wavelet transform to identify where is the frequency and at what time it is occurring. Both information we're going to get in this kind of wavelet plots. Okay, coming to one more technique, that is substrum, which is used in case of where suppose an example of a gearbox where there is multiple components. There are so many gears, counter shaft, main shaft, then so many bearings, etc., which is supporting all the rotational elements. You are mounting an accelerometer anywhere in the bearing location or on the casing and acquiring the data and performing FFT. And you can observe there are so many side bands. Okay, these side bands are nothing but some of the like it is a modulated to the some of the carrier frequency, etc. So to know exactly the information about which component is going to failing, etc., we require this kind of substrum analysis. It is very difficult with only Fourier transform or FFT. So substrum is the inverse Fourier transform of logarithm of the estimated spectrum of the signal. It is also roughly we can call it as spectrum of a spectrum is called substrum. Substrum, you can see this is first four letters CEPS. It is like a reverse of spec. Spectrum, it's just reverse. You oppositely spell that spec. Now it is subs. Okay, substrum. Okay, in plot in the spectrum, what we'll going to get? We'll see amplitude versus x-axis is frequency. In case of substrum, it is just opposite. What is that? In x-axis, now it is Q frequency. Instead of frequency, the first four letters is reverse. That is now Q frequency. Right? We'll see now. Okay. Any signal, we perform FFT and take logarithm of FFT and again perform inverse FFT. We're going to see substrum. Right. For uh, one study we carried out with the IC engine, all the combustion element has been removed. This is how in industry they will check for the engine gearbox. Okay, we motored the engine. That is now it is working in the opposite way of how IC engine will work. Now a motor is driving the engine through this chain drive arrangement, and now crankshaft is getting the rotational power because of this motor. And uh, here we have conducted study for the gear. One of the gear we used healthy, another one we created fault in the gear. This is the layout of this gearbox. Okay, and one of the gear we have removed. You can see, and this is a gear rotational frequency, gear mesh frequency, all these things. Okay, we acquired the vibration signal for the healthy gear and performed FFT. We will see the drive spin frequency, that is nothing but driving frequency, and its harmonic component, and also you can see the gear mesh frequency, right? And when we are performing this substrum analysis, we got this kind of plot. See, the x-axis is now Q frequency, and earlier we call this as harmonics, that driving frequency, and it is like twice the driving frequency, thrice, all those things, or we call as harmonics. Here we call as harmonics, and which will give us a periodicity of the signal. Okay, and when we are performing a wavelet, we could able to get what both the frequency and time information. Okay, this is for healthy, and this plot is for faulty gear. Okay, you can see earlier gear mesh frequency was very peak was very small. Now you can see with the remove one teeth has been removed, so gear mesh frequency, the amplitude has been increased. And we have not got good result in case of here in the substrum, but many cases substrum provided good information. Okay, and this is about wavelet plot. Okay, coming to machine learning approach, here we are using artificial intelligence techniques along with signal processing techniques. Like uh, uh, we can automate the process. Suppose you can say instead how we can identify the fault, like how we are acquiring the data and analyzing the data off the line with the help of F50 or wavelet, etc. Okay, it may take time. So we want, instead of manual, we want the computer to take care all the stationary, non-stationary, all these signals. Okay, so any fault system we can build which is capable to handle non-stationary signal or any other external noise, etc. Even in the signal, there may be some of the noisy signals may be present. That also it should be tolerant enough to take care. Okay, I hope Dr. Sukumaran may have explained you, but still here this slide shows an overview about how machine learning can be made use. You may get this kind of algorithm or flowcharts you may have seen in many paper or literature. So a machine or structure which is under supervision or under fault diagnosis program, what we'll do, we use suitable sensors. Sensors may be, it may be accelerometers in case of vibration signal, or if you are using some other signals, you may use that kind of sensors and data acquisition system, right? And feature extraction. In coming to feature extraction, we used many features, like starting from statistical features, discrete wavelet features, EMD, empirical mode decomposition features, etc. So, what kind of features which will give us better classification accuracy, that we need to choose. Then feature selection. That means suppose 11, 12 features, statistical features we have extracted from each signal. All the 12 features may not be relevant, or which may not be uh, which may increase our computational time. So in order to avoid all those things, we will select important features out of these 12 features. So that we call as feature selection. We use a decision tree technique, or in some cases, um, uh, we use here decision tree technique for feature selection, right? And there are so many classifiers are available, like artificial neural network, bayesnet, support vector machines, etc. We can make use of any of the algorithm for feature classification. Okay, so in order to build any hardware based on this machine learning approach, we can use this as a uh, like we can use the information provided by this machine learning method to support any hardware. Okay, and again I have given same, like which we may use a vibration signal, sound signal, acoustic emission signal, or cutting force signal. We may use see, there are two ways: naturally occurred fault or simulated fault. Naturally occurred fault means it should, a fault should occur as in operation, and it is very difficult because it may take long time for that kind of fault to observe. So based on our experience and the literature, we can simulate such kind of fault in the machine element and train the machine learning algorithm, etc. So that is the idea. LT and defective component, data acquisition, suitable data acquisition systems are used. Feature extraction, again I told, statistical features, discrete wavelet transform features, EMD, or histogram features we can use. Feature selection, we may use a decision tree or PCA, principal component analysis. Fault classification, here we can use all these algorithms as a classifier. That is about overview about how this machine learning method. I think our Dr. Sukumaran may have given much details. So one case study I would like to present. The same bearing that we have seen in case of signal processing with the time domain spectrum. Similar setup, okay, similar data for LT, inner edge fault, outer edge fault. Statistical features of each signal will be extracted. Standard error, standard deviation. All this, I think, fundamentally, you know all these things. Variance, kurtosis, skewness. Okay, each will also can be used for the diagnostic information. Maybe kurtosis alone, people will use in case of it will give you spiky nature of the signal, etc. Kurtosis alone can be used for diagnosis. Skewness, all these things can be used alone also. Then range, minimum value, maximum value, sum. Okay, all these 12 features, I think, can be extracted for each signals. And all these extracted features, okay, we can use decision tree technique to identify which are the dominant features. Okay, this also I think Dr. Sukumaran may have explained, so I am skipping all these things. Okay, we're going to see a tree-like structure. Okay, the root node, all these things you may have given information about the criteria for split and all. I spoke with him also, I discussed. Okay, so I'm skipping this. So decision tree works basically based on information entropy and information gain. Okay, these things Dr. Sukumaran has told, so I am skipping. So we're going to observe the decision tree like this. Okay, so from each tree you can see this is for vibration signal and this is for sound signal. You can observe the vibration signal. Out of 12 features, 3 features are selected. What are those? Range, kurtosis, and standard error. And you can also notice what is the criteria or machine learning rules, we call this as. Suppose if the range is greater than or 82.62, then it belongs to outer range fault. If it is less than or equal to 82.62 and kurtosis is greater than 0.47, we call this as healthy. There is second rule. Like that, we can make rules out of this kind of decision tree. How to plot this decision tree are all covered, I think. That is why I'm skipped. Okay, now this is for sound signal. Okay, now these 3 alone will feed to classifier. Okay, so 11 descriptive features from the vibration signal, right? And out of that, 3 features have been chosen relevant. And we have used here artificial neural network as a classifier or multi-layer perceptron, MLP, which basically works. This is a back propagation, error back propagation network. And these are all weightages for this network. And at the end, we're going to see such kind of matrix, confusion matrix, where the results are 30 signals we have given, which is healthy, classified correctly as 27 as healthy, and 3 misclassified as inner range fault, though it is healthy signal. Similarly, 30 we have fed of inner range fault signal, 5 has been misclassified as healthy signal, 25 is classified as correctly as inner range, and 30 correctly classified as outer range fault. This belongs to vibration signal and this belongs to sound signal. So finally we got 91.2% of accuracy in the vibration signal and 88.9% of accuracy, classification accuracy with sound signal. Okay, so based on this, then hardware can be developed. Okay, now this is again the same conclusion. One more case study which I thought of sharing is about milling cutter tool monitoring with both vibration and sound. So while milling, okay, we can acquire the vibration data, and also we acquired the sound data with the microphone. Okay, we used NI based DAC system, data acquisition system. You can see the different kinds of faults we have induced. Okay, those they are one with a flank wear, a breakage, and chipping. All these are simulated faults. Okay, and for each case we have taken 50 samples. Okay, for these four classes we have 200 samples, and each sample we acquired vibration and sound data, right? And with the available so many features, which is the best features, that also we need to identify first. For that, I have chosen here a statistical feature, EMD features, and DWD feature. EMD, empirical mode decomposition. Statistical features already I told. These are around 12 features we'll extract from each signal. This table gives first two rows corresponding to healthy kind of milling cutter, and third and fourth row for flank wear. I have taken two samples of each signals for the representation. So four classes here, and in uh, discrete wavelet we have discussed about continuous wavelet. In case of discrete wavelet, we can decompose the signal into different levels of uh, approximation and detail. Okay, where A is approximation and in case of D is detail. So this is all together, it is applicable in digital domain. Okay, how whatever we have chosen in the continuous domain, like translation, and as well as what is that, scaling is applicable here also in digital domain. So we could able to get different decomposition in case of digital signal that we call as discrete wavelet transform. So all these will serve as features. Okay, these are all different 8 levels of decomposition will serve as features. Coming to empirical mode decomposition, we can decompose the signal into intrinsic mode functions by finding out extrema. Okay, and then we will find out what is the average. We're going to see one more IMF. Like that, IMF are nothing but energy in the system. So we can decompose into number of IMFs. So signal, if we are decomposing, we can see the 8 level of decomposition, that is intrinsic mode functions. So these E1 to E8 are 8 levels of decomposition in case of empirical mode decomposition. So we used these are all fed as a these are all used as a features for classification. So out of all this, we want to select which is the best features. We use decision tree for selection. In case of statistical features, the selected features are given here: mean, kurtosis, range, median, mode, and standard error. Out of 11 or 12 features, we got these are selected features. In case of DWT features, we have 8 features we fed. We got around 5 features. V1, V2, V3, V5, V6 are selected. Okay. In case of empirical mode decomposition feature, we got 4 features selected. So all these things, selected features, again we use for fault classification with the different classifier. We need to find out which classifier is suitable and gives better, which is the pair that will gives better classification accuracy. Pair means which is the feature classifier pair, which will give us better classification accuracy. Okay, in that sense, this will give you some of the fundamental aspects about classifier, like support vector machine, we can find an hyperplane which classify two classes like positive class and negative class. We can identify an hyperplane, right? And this band you are seeing like a tolerance, right, which is adhering to these points, right, which we call as support vector to this hyperplane. This algorithm is called support vector machine. This we can get all these things in any case of machine learning algorithm. We can use in this case any machine learning algorithm. We will be using support vector machine with the different kernels. That whatever you have seen, it is for linear. There are so many non-linear SVMs are also present. Okay. An artificial neural network, multi-layer perceptron. Again, finding out these weightages, all those things that we have seen. With the case of Bayes network, okay, which is principally it is working based on probability-based theory. Okay, so finally classification with statistical features, Navier Bayes, we got around 97% classification accuracy. Classification with using EMD features with multi-layer perceptron, we got around 94.5% accuracy. With DWT features, that is discrete Wheeler transform features, and support vector machines as the classifier, we got around 98.5 accuracy. Similarly, we carried out with the different feature classifier pairs to identify which pair is better, which feature classifier pair is will give us a better accuracy. We found statistical features with Navier Bayes classifier will give us 97%. We tried with all the different combinations. Okay, and based on this, you can publish paper depending on the type of application that you choose. Okay, next, finally, we can make use of modern day IoT based fault diagnosis system, Internet of Things. Okay, so this pictorial representation will give us idea like earlier days, or you can say before IoT. You can see a person who walks around all the machines for monitoring the system. Now after IoT, you can see they are connected through through a cloud. After it, so we can better interact, collaborate, share experience through cloud. Okay, so any system, mechanical system, whether it may be gearbox, windmill, or locomotives, which is located in their multiple locations. Okay, you can get the data signals. Okay, you should also have standalone PCR any for data acquisition, and all these signals has been stored in the sent to the cloud, where there is a machine learning algorithms will be executed in the cloud. Okay, such machines data, many machines made data may be shared here in this cloud. Okay, and finally conclusions has been drawn using machine learning methods. Okay, if it is a good, then it is allowed to continue. If it is not good, we should that means the process or automation, whatever this process that will send alarms or notification to the operator. Okay, that's about typical IoT system. Okay, nowadays many IoT systems people are working for fault diagnosis system. That's about my today's talk. Any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Participants can raise question, please.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, yes, please, sir.
Sir, is subsystem analysis only limited to the vibration, or it can be applied to any other domains also, sir?
Other domain in the sense?
Um, in a sense, could that be a subsystem analysis could be done
If it
through
is a
MATLAB?
sound signal or any continuous signal, you can apply.
Yes, sir. Sir, could that be integrated with MATLAB, sir?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we have one doubt.
Yes,
Actually,
please.
we have captured the thermography, sir, image, thermography.
Okay, thermal image. Okay.
Is this can be incorporated in the wavelet technique, sir, to do the analysis of it?
As of now, I have not done anything related to image, sir.
Okay.
But thermal images itself is like one of the NDT technique people are using to identify fault.
Okay.
Again, image-based features you can extract. Like if you see in any case of automated attendance system, whether it is a biometric,
Yes.
how it will work, it based on our image, features will be extracted and compared with the standard, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
marked as attendance present or absent. Similar may be possible, that I don't know, but as of now, thermal images are used as an NDT technique that I know.
Yes. Because here we have measured the vibration signal using accelerometer, sir. Also,
Yes, sir.
acoustic. We are we have one experimental setup in our college. There
Okay.
we are using a solid contaminant present in the bearings. There is grease will be
Okay.
mixed with some solid
Yes.
particles, and we
Yes,
are
sir.
running
Yes.
the bearing for a number of hours, and we are
Yes, sir.
capturing the vibration signal, also the
Hmm.
acoustic signal,
Okay.
along with the thermal image, sir.
Okay. Okay.
All the three images, the three
Okay, sir. You
readings
can
we are
use
taking.
like fusion. You can use.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Now the first
You can use all the techniques. Okay.
in the first vibration,
You can use all the.
yes,
You proceed. Proceed,
the
sir.
vibration signal and the acoustic signals are classified using the wavelet technique. There is no problem. And we are
Okay.
classifying the features or extracting the features from the wavelet technique.
Yes, sir.
At the same time, what we are trying to do this, the thermal image also we can incorporate in the wavelet technique so that we can extract the features of the condition of the bearing. That's what we are trying.
Sir, this is new. Thermal images I never worked, sir.
Okay,
This
sir.
is new to me also. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Participants can raise some questions, please. Any more questions? Okay. Sir, thank you very much, sir, for your
Thank you,
wonderful
sir.
lecture on.
Sir,
Yes, sir. Yes, you speak, sir.
Thank you for giving me opportunity. Thank you, Professor Hariharan, and thanks to all the staff, administrative staff, and supporting staff, and also Kongu Engineering College for giving me opportunity to share my experience and thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, you are given a wonderful lecture, sir, regarding the wavelet decomposition and the feature extraction with different techniques and the feature selection and the fault classification using different classifiers and the use of IoT in the fault diagnosis you are touch upon that. So really, we are very happy, sir, to have such a wonderful speaker in our forum.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We need your help in future also, sir.
Always I will be useful, sir. I will be helpful, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
presence in our forum. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Shall I leave now, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Please, sir.